On her first day at work, the secretary made the CEO fall over. The CEO felt like all the bones in his body were making loud noises. He wanted to stand up and yell at her, but the secretary Jin's fierce eyes stopped him in his tracks. The bruise on his neck had disappeared overnight. The reason why Secretary Jin acted so aggressively was because she was the world champion boxer. Her younger sister asked for a job as a secretary for the CEO at the Wii Group, but she was bullied by many violent leaders in the company. Her sister then got delirious and had to stay home to recuperate. Jin Secretary wanted to get revenge for her sister, so she pretended to be her and got into the company. She immediately punished the arrogant receptionist and then repeatedly punished the violent leaders who had bullied her sister. Each of them felt the strength of her long legs. As for CEO Lan Chen, he was the boss, so he was definitely involved. Luckily, CEO Lai appeared to make peace, but when the CEO got to the conference room, he quickly realized that something was wrong. Several managers were injured, and they were all afraid. Secretary Jin and Lan Chen seemed to understand what was going on. When he asked them to explain, one said he was hit by a car on his way out of the house that morning. One said he was the one who hit him. One said he was in the car with him, and no one dared to tell the truth. Lan Chen clearly knew what was going on and decided what he had to do. After he was also attacked before, he announced that the meeting was over and only kept Secretary Jin. Jin Secretary wasn't someone who would back down easily like her sister. She wanted to see what Lan Chen would do with her. Secretary Jin, do you want to continue this job? Lan Chen arrogantly warned her. If you want to continue working as my secretary in the future, don't act so recklessly. At that time, he had defied everyone's opinion to choose her as his secretary. So if she chose this job, she had to take responsibility for herself. Even though Jin Secretary didn't like him, she still controlled herself. But unexpectedly, Lan Chen immediately gave her an important task: to buy a box of magical cookies from the bakery downstairs and bring them up within 15 minutes. Jin Secretary didn't expect that she would meet the second important man in her life here. When she was about to reach the front of the line, the last box of cookies was bought by a man who cut in front of her. Jin Secretary quickly ran back to buy another box, and the man in front of her was the CEO of the Li Y Group. Wai Shi politely offered the box of cookies to Jin Secretary, and she politely thanked him. She happily went back to report the task, but unexpectedly, Lan Chen arrogantly said that he didn't want to eat anymore. At this time, Jin Secretary couldn't hold back. What's wrong with you? If you don't want to eat, then don't waste her time. Seeing the disgusted expression on Secretary Jin's face, Lan Chen immediately lost his arrogant attitude, coughed and found an excuse to say he wanted to check the work with her. But before he could say a few words, Lan Chen started to bother her again. He reached out with both hands, wanting Secretary Jin to help him tie his tie. Jin Secretary impatiently said, "Can't your tie itself?" Lan Chen coldly said, "So regarding your position as a secretary." Secretary Jin interrupted him with anger in her stomach, but she still helped him adjust his tie in an orderly manner. She wanted to tease him a little, but unexpectedly used too much force. Secretary Jin pulled Lan Chen, and they both fell onto the sofa. Her face turned pale with fear. He was worried. They faced each other, and the atmosphere became hazy. In another event, the CEO decided to dodge the marriage. At the engagement party, he publicly announced that the person he loved was his female secretary. Secretary Jin was taken aback, her eyes wide with astonishment at the CEO's words. She wanted to deny it immediately, but Lan Chen hugged her tightly. This intimate action made everyone misunderstand more. This angered the wealthy girl, as she was actually Lan Chen's prearranged fiancée. The girl, named Jia Xiang, angrily poured red wine toward them, but luckily Lan Chen managed to shield Secretary Jin. The entire hall suddenly became quiet, as if frozen in time. After a long time, the Zhuo family reacted, criticizing Lan Chen for offending the Zhuo family. Whether now or in the future, she would always be his woman, Lan Chen. He wanted to see who dared to harm her in any way. Lan Chen resolutely declared, "Jia Zhang, pour all your anger on Secretary Jin." But unexpectedly, Secretary Jin was actually a champion martial artist. She and Lan Chen weren't in any relationship. Jin denied it. In this situation, there was no mood to stay any longer. Lan Chen pulled Secretary Jin, wanting to leave. But Jia Zhang felt humiliated that she was rejected like that. She ordered the security guards to stop them. Secretary Jin was not afraid at all. She put Lan Chen behind her, took off her high heels, tore her dress, and immediately showed her skills as a champion martial artist. In an instant, Secretary Jin defeated all the security guards and dragged Lan Chen, who was still in a state of astonishment, out of the room. Lan Chen still hadn't reacted. He hadn't expected Secretary Jin to be so strong. He couldn't help but feel a special emotion towards her. Just as he was lost in thought, Secretary Jin suddenly slammed on the brakes and slapped Lan Chen in the face. She felt that she was being used as a pawn. This made her very angry. Lan Chen didn't defend himself because he couldn't think of any reason to justify his actions. He sincerely apologized to her. He didn't care about her feelings, only his own. He needed someone to go to parties with, someone to help him dress, and even someone to get him a cookie. "Do you hate me so much?" Secretary Jin paused for a moment. "Yes, you are a pain in the neck." Things became tense again. Lan Chen decided to steer the conversation towards the topic of the dress. When Secretary Jin thought she would have to pay for the dress, Lan Chen casually gifted the dress to her. Secretary Jin felt very excited. If she had known before, she wouldn't have been angry and torn it. If she had known before she fought the security guards, she would have been more careful. The atmosphere became more relaxed. At this time, Secretary Jin said to herself that she felt cold and glanced at Lan Chen. Her meaning was very clear. Lan Chen understood and quickly tightened his coat, but this gesture only made Secretary Jin roll her eyes. As expected, he was still his self-absorbed boss. After that, Lan Chen took Secretary Jin home. Secretary Jin did not hesitate to request, "Consider this overtime tonight. Tomorrow I'll take half a day off. If you dare to deduct my salary, you're dead." Lan Chen felt that Secretary Jin became more adorable every time, but when Jin Secretary turned away, she witnessed a shocking scene. The CEO's fiancé had brought people to surround her mother and sister. Jin Secretary quickly escaped, not wanting people to know that she and her sister were twins. Jia Zhang was still furious from the party, and deliberately brought people to make trouble for the Jin family. Jin's mother, a very nice person, kept apologizing to her, while Shi-en cried her eyes out. Jia Zhang, with a fake smile, demanded the Jin family pay her 1,000,000 yuan for emotional damages. If they couldn't pay, they'd have to kneel and apologize. It was a humiliating demand, directed at Jin's mother. In this situation, Shi-en pleaded with her with tearful eyes. Jia Zhang seemed surprised, thinking Shi-en had a mental breakdown, and didn't recognize her as Secretary Jin. "Didn't your mother teach you to take responsibility for your actions? I'm going to teach you a lesson today." When Shi-er couldn't take it anymore and wanted to intervene, a big hand grabbed Jia Zhang. It was Lan Chen. Jia Zhang was furious to see the man she loved protecting another woman. Lan Chen didn't want to continue confronting her and told her to go home. Knowing they couldn't gain anything from the Zuo family tonight, they were forced to leave. But in a split second, Shi-en ran into Lan Chen's arms. She cried loudly out of helplessness. Seeing this, Shi-er couldn't help but realize her sister's feelings, but for some reason, she felt a bit sour in her heart. The next day, at the office, Shi-er didn't say a word, but threw the CEO over her shoulder as punishment for the previous night's incident. The CEO, like a punching bag, couldn't object, knowing it was all his fault for attending the party. Again, Secretary Jin reminded Lan Chen that if he caused any more trouble, she would punish him. Lan Chen could only remain silent, but he took it to heart. However, he noticed a few girls staring at him intently. Unable to resist, he admired himself in the mirror, stroking his handsome hair and being self-absorbed. Secretary Jin could only shake her head and wander around freely. Unexpectedly, she ran into CEO Zhang. Before they could exchange a few words, someone rushed over and grabbed CEO Zhang's phone. Luckily, Shi-er was nearby and chased the thief away. The party officially started, and everyone greeted each other. Ger just discovered the person she saved was CEO Zhang of Li Hui Corporation. She was captivated by his handsome looks and polite manner, and she couldn't help but smile. The corporation had an opportunity for a business partnership. But when Lan Chen saw him, he felt something was wrong. He wondered if he was that charming. But at this moment, Secretary Jin seemed lost in her own world, oblivious to everything around her until the three of them introduced themselves. Lan Chen always had a high level of vigilance in his heart, fearing that Secretary Jin would be deceived. When Shi-er watched CEO Zhang leave, she saw someone she hated with a passion. Unexpectedly, Jia Zhang was also there. Recalling her unpleasant face from the previous night when she harassed her mother, Secretary Jin ran over angrily. Jia Zhang wasn't any less fierce, mocking Secretary Jin. As Secretary Jin was about to attack her, Lan Chen pulled her back. As a result, the two of them were in close contact. Their eyes met and the atmosphere froze. This made Jia Zhang extremely angry. "Are you showing off your affection here?" But she didn't know what to say to refute it, so she just ignored it. At this point, Secretary Jin finally regained her composure and instinctively threw a punch over her shoulder. Never feelings arose like that. The party finally ended, and when he got home, Lan Shen quickly took a hot bath, washing away the day's fatigue. But soon after, he went to Secretary Jin's room. Faced with his handsome face, Secretary Jin was completely helpless. Just as she was about to let Lan Shen do something sexual, she suddenly woke up, realizing it was just a dream. But the scene at the party last night invaded Secretary Jin's mind. She quickly clenched her teeth, wanting to forget that image. She reminded herself that it was the woman her sister loved. She couldn't steal her sister's affections for her own sake. However, being around Lan Shen every day made it hard not to develop feelings for him. Her concern for Lan Shen went beyond the relationship between a secretary and her boss. She even went so far as to wear a mask and beat up the finance director to help Lan Shen clear up the company's financial problems, forcing him to confess. But she didn't expect to fall into their trap. The finance director pretended and had invited the press beforehand, accusing Lan Shen of ordering his secretary to falsify the documents to protect the company's reputation. Lan Shen's grandfather ordered a press conference the next day, criticizing his management of the family corporation. All the blame fell on Secretary Jin. Lan Shen's mother wanted to stop him, but Lan Shen agreed. As CEO, he had to think about the whole corporation. Secretary Jin overheard everything. Lan Shen texted Secretary Jin, telling her to take the day off. Unexpectedly, a phone rang nearby. Could Secretary Jin be in the room? He went over and found Secretary Jin's phone had fallen there. Then, Secretary Jin pretended to come back for her phone and ran into Lan Shen. They both had something to say. They faced each other for a moment, not knowing what to say. Just as Lan Shen was determined to say goodbye, the Tai Chi master Ling Feng suddenly appeared. Ling Feng always secretly admired Secretary Jin, and naturally had no good feelings towards his love rival, Lan Shen. Immediately, he revealed that Lan Shen was the one who bribed the bully who harassed Secretary Jin a few days ago. Lan Shen had never done such a thing, so naturally he didn't accept it. But Ling Feng insisted on his words, and even had proof of the bank transfer, leaving Secretary Jin unsure of who to believe for a while. However, remembering what she overheard Lan Shen saying, Secretary Jin decided to get on her motorcycle and follow Ling Feng. She felt sad and heartbroken. The CEO's fiancé even came to mock her with a fake tone, advising her to leave Lan Shen. If she leaves, he won't choose you either. If she can't have it, she'll destroy it. No one can have it. Listen carefully, your man. She can't destroy him. Jia Zhang thought it was a joke and burst out laughing. Immediately afterward, she called a bunch of reporters. Get ready to see Secretary Jin make a fool of herself. Secretary Jin avoided the cameras, not wanting to reveal herself anymore. Just then, her twin sister came out to investigate because of the noise and reporters. And like they had discovered a new continent, they rushed towards her. They couldn't understand why there were two Secretary Jin. To protect her sister, She could only admit to the reporters, "Yes, I'm her twin sister, and I've always been her secretary." The reporters kept asking questions, wanting more information. Just when She felt troubled, "Stop it," made everyone stand still. The CEO of Li Wai came to the hospital and said, "Do you think just because you're a big company, you can do whatever you want?" The CEO sent a lawyer's letter to all the reporters, demanding they not publish She's private information. Zer was very grateful to the CEO for helping her out of a difficult situation. The CEO made a request. "I hope you'll be my secretary." Zer hesitated a bit and looked behind her. The CEO said, "I invited you, not your sister." It turned out he had known about their twins for a long time. Zer also understood the CEO's intention, but still refused, because in her heart, she already had Lan Shen. After settling things outside, She returned to her room, and unexpectedly, the person who hurt her the most was her own sister. Not only was her sister ungrateful for what she had done, but she also blamed her for turning her life upside down since she came home. She had caused so much trouble. This world wasn't her fighting arena. Zer defended herself, saying she was helping the company, but her sister countered that she was helping her or helping herself. The main reason her sister blamed her was because the CEO she admired was in love with her older sister. Finally, her sister demanded that she promise to never fall in love with Lan Shen. Zer sighed heavily and swore to the heavens, "I swear, if I fall in love with Lan Shen, the heavens will strike me with lightning." Lan Shen announced that the corporation would be making an official statement soon. Director Li read out the disciplinary decision regarding Secretary Jin. The decision to fire her was a personal decision of the corporation, but Lan Shen suddenly tore up the company's statement. As the chairman of the corporation and a responsible man, Lan Shen needed to speak up. Everything was unrelated to Secretary Jin. It was all his doing. He would take responsibility for everything and warned all the media present to stop harassing Secretary Jin and her family. If not, he would deal with them all. Lan Shen was very manly in this moment. Everyone thought things were under control, but there were people who didn't want to see the corporation thrive. So a video appeared on the big screen, in which Ling Feng and some senior executives of the corporation were shown violating the law, conspiring to frame Lan Shen, accusing him of falsifying the documents with the aim of tarnishing his reputation and pulling him out of the CEO's chair. The reporters finally got a big scoop, and Lan Shen was temporarily put in a passive position. There was no other way. Lan Shen had to face the questions from the reporters. Lan Shen had no choice but to resign to take responsibility. But at that moment, the big screen lit up again, showing surveillance footage of Ling Feng being coerced by senior executives of the corporation to harm Lan Shen. Finally, the truth was revealed. Everything that happened before was a frame-up. Despite the evidence, the media were still reluctant to easily forgive Lan Shen for falsifying the documents at this critical time. The CEO of Li Huai came to the scene to explain to everyone that Lan's corporation was actually leading in market share and performance compared to other competitors. He also presented a financial report of the corporation compiled by Secretary Jin, so he believed that Lan's corporation's finances were fine. The We Cosmetics Group expressed their willingness to invest in Lan's corporation. Furthermore, if any reporter dared to misreport and slander Secretary Jin and her family, he would not forgive them. Although it was good news, Lan Shen couldn't rejoice because he knew that CEO Zheng had stepped up to help only because of Secretary Jin. After the incident, Lan Shen wanted to explain to her, but Secretary Jin said she had given him a chance. But he didn't take it. CEO Zheng was standing outside the door waiting for her, intending to take Secretary Jin home. Lan Shen angrily spoke. "I want to say that my secretary doesn't need him to take her home. Didn't you just fire her?" Lan Shen wanted to defend himself, but CEO Zheng cut him off. He just wanted to say that he was there today to help Secretary Jin. It had nothing to do with Lan's company. The atmosphere immediately became tense, and when things were getting heated, Ling Feng also came. His purpose was the same as the other two men. They all wanted to take Secretary Jin home. The three men vying and jealous made Secretary Jin feel awkward. In the end, she decided to go home on the subway alone. However, Lan Shen didn't give up. He still pursued her and took her home. Then, his self-absorbed personality surfaced. "Do you feel like I have a glow? Do you love someone like me?" It was getting late and Secretary Jin didn't want to answer him. She turned around and went inside to rest. But then, once again, she executed a beautiful move, flipping the person over her shoulder. While others blamed Lan Shen, the real mastermind behind the scenes was Li Yuan. He had gained the trust of Lan's mother, but had teamed up with Jia Sang to confront Lan Shen. Although this event was beyond his expectations, his ultimate goal was achieved. Jia Zhang also discovered a big secret. Secretary Jin had a twin sister. He and a few others took the money and left. Jia Zhang watched them leave, worrying about how to continue collaborating with Li Yuan in the future. Li Yuan said she had taken away all the business techniques and resources. All they had to do was break the partnership with Li Huai, and we would completely collapse. Jia Zhang was overjoyed, because as long as Lan Shen's company went bankrupt, he would never leave her. Li Yuan was now in charge of everything at Li Huai. Lan Ren realized her son's plan and called a Yuan, asking him to support Lan Shen and not do anything behind his back. Knowing that the financial report this time was problematic, he planned to eliminate the 4 toxic tumors in the company. Lan Shen awkwardly said to Secretary Jin beside him, "Could you please not fall in love with Wai Shi?" Secretary Jin looked into the eyes of Lan Shen in front of her, seeing his love but not daring to confess. She stammered, "It doesn't concern you who I love." Lan Shen didn't dare to confess and continued working awkwardly. Eliminating the 4 toxic tumors couldn't be done without the help of their 4 assistants. Actually, they were all Lan Shen's people, and now they had replaced their positions. Secretary Jin and Lan Shen returned home, finding Jia Zhang and her best friend waiting at Lan Shen's house. She deliberately flirted in front of Secretary Jin. Lan Shen said there were a lot of companies who wanted to collaborate with his company. If she didn't want to cooperate on the design, she could leave. Jia Zhang asked if he wasn't worried she would ruin everything. Lan Shen thought again that a big company like Li Huai wouldn't self-destruct its image. The reason they chose her was because her company also wanted a piece of the cosmetics industry. And currently, We was a well-known business in the industry. They could also use this opportunity to advertise. Jia Zhang revealed her new product plan to Lan Shen. Secretary Jin saw them talking, so she decided to go outside to get some air. Coincidentally, Lan's mother was also there. She gave Secretary Jin a black card with unlimited funds and expressed that she knew she wasn't a materialistic girl, but this world still needed money and hoped she wouldn't misunderstand. Knowing that Lan Shen was hoping for true love, Secretary Jin explained that her relationship with Lan Shen was purely a superior subordinate relationship at work. Lan Shen heard what his mother said to Secretary Jin and saw Lan Ren in the video scolding Secretary Jin, saying she had delayed Lan Shen. They were not a match. Secretary Jin said that they didn't understand how to care for Lan Shen. They didn't know what he liked and disliked, and talked about Lan Shen's difficulties. Lan's mother was moved to tears. Lan Shen bravely stood up to his grandfather at this time and left with Secretary Jin. Lan Shen took Secretary Jin to a restaurant. He expressed his gratitude to her. Secretary Jin spoke the truth and even scolded his grandfather. Lan Shen heard what she said and knew that it was all sincere. It was just that she wasn't acknowledging his direct attractiveness. Secretary Jin laughed and said she hated seeing him be self-absorbed. As they were eating at the restaurant, they received a survey. When asked about their favorite way to be confessed to, she wrote, "Under the starry night sky and in a light drizzle, a boy appears with a bouquet of roses." Lan Shen secretly remembered these words in his heart. The staff suddenly brought a cake to celebrate Secretary Jin's birthday. She was very happy, but when she saw the macarons on either side of the cake, she was disappointed because it was her sister's favorite. Lan Shen mistook her for Shi Yan. She sadly ordered a bottle of wine and drank several glasses in a row. When she learned the price of the wine, she quickly put down her glass. It turned out the survey was also deliberately prepared by Lan Shen. He wanted to know how Secretary Jin liked to be confessed to. Shi Yan got drunk and went out to the bathroom. Lan Shen was very worried and went over to check on her. She said, "Today is not my birthday, and I don't like macarons. Those macarons are my sister's favorite." Lan Shen asked about her sister in surprise. Under the influence of alcohol, Secretary Jin directly kissed him. Secretary Jin kissed Lan Shen in a state of oblivion, but when she thought about how he saw her as his sister, she angrily slapped him. She left sadly. Lan Shen ran after her wanting to take her home, but she said today was really her birthday. Lan Shen hadn't remembered incorrectly. It was just that her real birthday was yesterday. Lan Shen asked Secretary Jin to get out of the car, but she refused him on the taxi. Secretary Jin was drunk and fell asleep. When she woke up, she saw Lan Shen's image on billboards and even on her mobile phone news. She angrily shouted at the taxi driver. The taxi driver suggested she call a talk show. Maybe it would help her feel better. She said she had always played the role of her sister and really loved Lan Shen, but she couldn't be with him. When she got home, her sister was waiting to celebrate their joint birthday. Secretary Jin sadly said they always celebrated their birthday on this day, just 10 minutes apart, but her real birthday was yesterday. Secretary Jin said she had been too tired lately, and from tomorrow on, she would let Shi Yan work alone. All her life, she had always done everything for her sister, but only received blame. Never thanks. Mother Jin asked if she had any problems. She just sent a happy birthday message to Shi Yan, and sadly returned to her room. Lan Shen ate the cake alone, remembering the kiss from Secretary Jin. He still had the aftertaste. Secretary Jin couldn't sleep all night. The next day, Secretary Jin went to Ling Feng's Western Kono gym, while Shi Yan, as if by appointment, went to Lan Shen's office and called him CEO. Lan Shen felt a bit strange and told her, "Don't be so stiff, call me Lan Shen, or Shen Ge." Shi Yan softly called him Shen Ge. Lan Shen looked up at her. Secretary Jin practiced martial arts with Ling Feng. When Ling Feng learned that she lost her job, he introduced her to a job abroad. He was sad to think about not being able to see her anymore. Secretary Jin wanted her finding a new job and going abroad to be a secret. She just wanted to go abroad to relax her mind. Shi Yan gently gave assignments to her colleagues. Lan Shen smiled as he passed her, very gently. "You're being so gentle today? Could it be because last night?" But before he finished, Shi Yan fell asleep. Lan Shen gently placed her down and covered her with a jacket. Lan Shen's uncle asked him if he was investigating him. He passed the responsibility to Zuo Jia and his group, saying that they were too talented, making him fooled. But Lan Shen didn't believe his words. If he didn't realize small problems like that, how could he become the CEO of the second largest shareholder? Lan Shen asked Li Yuan to prepare for the interview and the confession ceremony. That night, Lan Shen's mother went to Secretary Jin's house. She disdainfully wiped down the sofa, seeing her raising her child alone, also seeing quite a bit of difficulty. She looked at the teacup with disdain and put it back. This time, Lan Shen's mother specifically brought a black card, telling her to manage her daughter and not cling to Lan Shen anymore. Lan Shen's mother praised Mother Jin's firmness, saying she inherited it from Mother Jin, and apologized for her previous casual words. She took back the black card and asked Mother Jin if their family had twins. Jin started applying for jobs abroad. Her overseas work experience and her winning the martial arts championship gave her an advantage. Starting next month, she could go abroad directly to complete the immigration procedures. It started to drizzle, and she thought about Lan Shen. Lan Shen asked Li Yuan to prepare for the press conference and the confession. Li Yuan also hoped that Lan Shen could be with Mother Kim, and didn't want the Zuo family to interfere in the Lam family's affairs. Zian woke up and quickly apologized to Lan Shen for accidentally falling asleep, but Lan Shen didn't blame her and took her to another place. Lan Shen's mother asked Mother Jin if the person working today was Jian, or her older daughter who won the martial arts championship. She didn't want to be fooled by her son anymore. Mother Jin said they had no intention of fooling him. Because her younger daughter was bullied at the company, her older daughter stepped in to handle the fake documents and bad guys at the company. They had nothing to be ashamed of. The reason they didn't leave the company was because their daughter loved Lan Shen. When leaving, Lan Shen's mother told Mother Jin that she liked her daughter very much and would bring some good tea next time she visited. On the rooftop, Lan Shen confessed to Xian, while Xin stood behind, listening to her beloved. Lan Shen confessed to her sister. Her heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. She sadly sat in the rain. Bai Shi came to care for her and invited her to eat at the restaurant and invited her to be his secretary, but she declined his offer. He said that there were still traitors in Lan Shen's company and told her to pass a message to Xian to be careful in everything she did. Zian saw the person she loved confessing to her. She was very happy inside, but when she heard the revelation, she realized that the person he truly loved was her sister. She hugged him tightly, crying uncontrollably, and told him that this was the moment she had been waiting for in her dreams, but the person he loved wasn't her. She said if they continued to know each other for a while, he would know the truth. She didn't reveal the truth and refused him before leaving. After being rejected by Xian, Lan Shen sadly walked around the city. By chance, he went to a restaurant and found Xian, who had just rejected him, with Huai Shi. Xian stood up to explain something, but unfortunately slipped. Luckily, Huai Shi was quick to help her. Lan Shen witnessed the whole thing and felt jealous when he heard him call out his name. Jin quickly pushed Huai Shi away and suggested they all have dinner together. Lan Shen made a sarcastic remark that she couldn't take anymore, so she asked him what he was doing. Lan Shen said that Li Huai was a valuable customer of his, and having the opportunity to have dinner and drinks with them was something many people desired. Everyone wanted to move up. Seeing Lan Shen continuously talking about Xin Huai Shi asked if he was misunderstanding something. In the end, Xin splashed a glass of wine in Lan Shen's face before leaving. Lan Shen praised Xian for doing a good job today, saying that he couldn't have done it without her guidance. As he left with a heavy heart, he became drunk and collapsed. Jin ran over and hugged him tightly. Huai Shi saw this and realized that Lan Shen's image was still in her heart. Huai Shi was also worried about Xin and took Lan Shen home with her. As they were about to leave, Lan Shen grabbed her hand, called her Secretary Jin, and told her not to go. She felt feverish and fainted in Huai Shi's arms. Lan Shen brought Xin to the living room. He told her not to worry, everything else would be taken care of by him. He told her to rest. The next morning, both Lan Shen and Huai Shi were preparing breakfast. They both said they were making it for Xin. She woke up and knew that Lan Shen had been protecting her all night. She was very happy. Huai Shi made breakfast for Xin. The two of them tried each other's food. The humorous actions made Xin joyful. She laughed at how cute Lan Shen and Huai Shi were being with each other. They both treated her very attentively. She praised the sandwich as very delicious. When he heard Secretary Jin praise Huai Shi's cooking skills, Lan Shen felt sad and wanted to go to work. He also decided to give Secretary Jin a day off. Huai Shi was very happy. He could take her out for a walk. Lan Shen felt reluctant to leave. Xin saw him leaving like this, but didn't know what was going on. When Lan Shen arrived at the company, he saw macarons on the table and was startled when Secretary Jin appeared behind him. He thought he had given her a day off. How could she have come to the company so quickly? Lan Shen was surprised to see Secretary Jin arrive at the company even faster than him. He said the plan she implemented was very good. They were really lacking the part related to schools. The potential was so great, and their capital could also be circulated faster. This subsidiary could return to the main topic, and Secretary Jin had put this project into the new research and development project. He really recognized her ideas. Within a quarter, the company would turn from losing money to making money. He arrogantly said it was thanks to his teaching methods that she had learned so much. He thought that Secretary Jin had feelings for him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have given up on Wai Shi to come to work. Jin didn't want to go home. She invited Wai Shi to go boxing. He happily agreed. When he went to the Western Kono boxing gym, he thought he could beat Shin, but he got hurt. At present, Shin's work was going very smoothly, her abilities becoming more professional. Meanwhile, he quickly apologized to Shin. Jen and Hui Haishi trained and jogged together. They had more and more topics to talk about. Jia Zhang criticized Shin for rejecting her design. Although she didn't know about design, she knew that design needed to be based on the core requirements of the customer. Jia Zhang had no choice but to agree to change in front of Lan Shen. She gave the complete investigation report to Lan Shen. At this time, she fell ill and fell asleep. Lan Shen prepared to kiss her, but her mother interrupted him. The new product reached record sales. He happily hugged Jin and cheered. Li Yuan secretly took a picture of Lan Shen and Secretary Jin hugging and sent it to Jia Zhang. Jia Zhang contacted Li Yuan. Li Yuan reminded her not to forget their promise to each other. Lan Ren and Wai Shi had a video meeting with Lan Shen. Wai Shi highly praised the new product, but always felt it lacked soul. Lan Ren angrily retorted, saying that Wai Shi was not sincere in wanting to cooperate, and shouldn't waste both sides' time. He was so angry that he started to cough. Wai Shi reminded the old man to take care of his health, because We Cosmetics was still under review. They could only cooperate after it was accepted. He felt that the reason for being humiliated by Wai Shi in this meeting was because Lan Shen didn't marry into the Zhang family. Li Yuan was secretly happy. Mother Lan voluntarily invited Secretary Jin and Lan Shen out for dinner. She and Li Yuan had another date night. Jin realized that Lan Shen had something bottled up. Lan Shen awkwardly confessed, hoping that Shin would become his girlfriend. She felt they had only known each other for a short time. Lan Shen misunderstood again, thinking she liked Wai Shi. Jin ran into Shi-en in the bathroom. They both went to a restaurant for dinner. Zian thanked her sister for giving her the chance to confess that day. Xin pretended not to know. She didn't understand what her sister was saying. Zian told her sister that she had refused Lan Shen's confession. Although the confession was directed at her, the person Lan Shen was referring to was her sister. Xian wanted to start over and compete fairly with her sister. When she learned that Wai Shi had rejected their new product, Jin decided to help her sister. Xin came out of the bathroom and happened to meet Lan Shen. Lan Shen asked her if she had changed clothes. Xin smiled awkwardly. There was no other way but to go eat with Lan Shen. She expressed her opinion about the soul of the product. Lan Shen suspected that Secretary Jin had a mental breakdown. One moment she was like this, the next moment she was like that. Xin reminded Lan Shen to take care of himself and eat on time. In front of Xin Wai Shi said that it was indeed a coincidence. To avoid Lan Shen seeing both twin sisters, he took the initiative to take Chen home. Ling Feng went to Sinner's house, deliberately trying to please Mother Kim. He said that Jin had secretly loved him for a long time, and he was willing to become her son-in-law. Seeing Mother Kim seem embarrassed, he returned to the main point, saying that Shin was interviewing for a job abroad and he didn't want her to leave. He hoped Mother Kim would persuade her. At this time, Wai Shi and Shin returned home. Ling Feng saw them from a distance. He was worried he would get his legs broken by Shin so they both hid in the kitchen. Mother Kim said that hiding couldn't be kept secret forever and was worried about being exposed, so she also hid there with him. When Shin returned home, she voluntarily put on music for Lan Shen to listen to. Ling Feng heard Shin's voice and was about to leave the kitchen, but Mother Kim told him to continue hiding and listen to what they were talking about. Zhen politely asked Wai Shi how she had submitted that new plan. He looked at Secretary Jin and said that their plan had problems. Jin said she had done it directly and had confirmed it with Lan Shen. He gave her the document. She looked at it and found that the data and sales points in the plan had been changed. She asked who had given this plan to CEO Zhang. Lan Shen said it was their project manager who had sent it to him. After just a short conversation, Lan Shen and Shen returned home. They also hid in the kitchen. Jin and Hui Chai Shi were startled by the appearance of Ling Feng and the others. Jin realized who was hiding in the kitchen, made up an excuse that she was tired, and asked Lan Shen to go home and rest. Lan Shen wanted to go to Xin'er's room to rest, but she refused. When Lan Shen was about to leave, he heard Xin'er's previous message on the radio, and finally realized that Secretary Jin was actually two people. Mother Lan told Lan Shen that Secretary Jin was actually two people. Lan Shen sadly said to his mother that, as long as they knew this, it would be fine. And this time, the sales seemed to have been decided. Lan Shen recalled the time when he wanted to go into Secretary Jin's room to rest, but when he left, the radio was just playing Xin'er's words when she was drunk. In it, she admitted that she loved Lan Shen, but Lan Shen was the person her sister loved. Lan Shen angrily asked Jin why she had hidden it from him. He firmly told her that the person he loved was her, not her sister. He loved the person who had slapped him and ran away from the party with him. Seeing rejected him and started to cry. The other four didn't hide anymore. They stood up awkwardly. It started to rain. Lan Shen walked slowly down the street. At that moment, he received a call from his mother. Their new product had started to decline sharply. Although its reputation was still good, it couldn't be sustained in the long run. Lan Shen remembered Huai Shi's words, that their new product lacked soul. Although they had gained a good reputation, it was hard for sales to continue. Lan Shen stopped all the new products. He felt the consequences were too severe and wanted to decide for himself, not telling Lan Rin. Lan Shen researched the issue of the new product thoroughly. Jia Zhang went to Lan Shen's house and deliberately tried to seduce him. After hearing Xin'er's confession, Huai Shi and Ling Feng were both unhappy. Jian told her sister that Lan Shen hadn't been to the company for a long time, and she felt she was really not smart. Jian wanted her sister to be herself again, and she wanted to compete fairly. Lan Ren knew his grandson Lan Shen wasn't happy. He told Lan Shen that the reason he was worried about everything was that he hoped that when he died, the company could develop smoothly under Lan Shen's leadership. Secretary Jin called Lan Shen, calling 4 times in a row, but he refused each time. Lan Shen didn't know what was happening, and when he answered the call, he was scolded by Xin'er. Just as he was about to explain, he was informed to go to the square. Lan Shen refused her, but Xin'er said she would wait for him until midnight. After much hesitation, Lan Shen went to see her. Xin'er asked him why he was so late, and when he arrived, she hugged him and kissed him without hesitation. Lan Shen looked at her in surprise. Seeing Lan Shen not react and wanting to hit him, Lan Shen took the initiative to kiss her, and they were reconciled as before. Lan Shen's new product encountered difficulties again. This time, he didn't use Jia Zhang anymore, but invited Jia Zhang's assistant to the meeting room. It turned out that these two people were deliberately arranged by Lan Shen, beside Jia Zhang, and now they held all the techniques. They could operate the new cosmetics company independently, launch products, and sales soared, creating a new sales legend. Jin and Lan Shen started a romantic relationship. Jin taught Lan Shen how to practice martial arts. Ling Feng stood beside them, with a heart full of anger. Xin'er also focused on her work. Huai Shi and Lan Shen started to cooperate. They frankly stated that they were cooperating with Wei, and at the same time investing in the new company of the Zuo family. Xin'er informed Lan Shen that she would be going to work abroad. She believed that their feelings could withstand the test. Lan Shen said that, in order to prevent her from being tempted by others, he proposed to marry her first. Then, he pulled Xin'er to try on wedding dresses. He watched her put on the wedding dress, and slowly walked down the stairs. His heart was filled with happiness. Xin'er appeared in front of Lan Shen, wearing a wedding dress. He happily said, "I agree." But Xin'er said she hadn't agreed yet. Lan Shen received a phone call, and angrily threw a file at him, asking Li Yuan what he was trying to do. Li Yuan took out Jia Zhang's pregnancy certificate, and all the medical evidence showing that the baby was Lan Shen's. Lan Shen didn't know what to say. Mother Lan asked her son what had happened. He didn't know what had happened either. He only remembered that that night after drinking the water Jia Zhang gave him, he didn't know what happened. When the Zuo family found out about their daughter's premarital pregnancy, they came to Lan Shen to seek a resolution. Li Yuan used this to threaten him. He could keep his mouth shut, but the case of falsifying the documents needed to be dropped. Mother Lan could only agree. Mother Lan received news that Lan Shen's grandfather was in a car accident and might become a vegetable. She was so scared that she fell over. Lan Shen promised to take responsibility for the Zuo family. He called his subordinates. The series of events that happened today were very similar to the time when his father met with an accident. Xin'er gathered her courage to inform her mother about going to work abroad. Mother Kim expressed understanding, feeling that her children had grown up. Jin opened the door and saw Jia Zhang leading a few women to her house. She felt challenged and handed Shin a wedding invitation. Seen saw the wedding invitation and sneered in front of them. She tore it up, warning Jia Zhang that she could eat whatever she wanted, but she couldn't talk nonsense. Jia Zhang said that if Shin didn't believe her, she could attend the wedding tomorrow, and mocked that Shin was just a passing experience in Lan Shen's life. Seen wanted to hit Jia Zhang, but Lan Shen stopped her. He knew that he had hurt Shin so he wanted her to hit him. However, she didn't want to touch Jia Zhang. Why she warned Jia Zhang, "If you don't leave, consider it a confrontation with the Lihuai Corporation." Shin didn't give up. She asked Lan Shen if he had ever loved her. Although Lan Shen didn't want to, he still said he had never liked her. Ling Feng rode his motorcycle over and didn't give Lan Shen a chance to explain. He immediately hit Lan Shen and asked why he treated Zhen like that. "If you have it, you have to cherish it." Lan Shen apologized, but he was still beaten by Huai Shi. Previously, he thought Lan Shen could bring happiness to Shen, so he had been accommodating. "Why did you abandon her?" Lan Shen said, "My grandfather is in a coma, and it was his wish." Why Shi said, "From now on, Shen will be mine. I opened a company abroad." Seeing that Ling Feng didn't have any chance, he burst into tears. Lan Shen asked Huai Shi to take good care of Shen Ling Feng said that it was Shen who protected them in the car. Shen looked at the wedding photo of herself and Lan Shen. Lan Shen decided to marry Jia Zhang today, while Huai Shi held a press conference to launch his new company. Both events took place on the same day. Jin was in the car, looking at a fertility advertisement, and suddenly remembered something. When the MC was officiating the wedding between Jia Zhang and Lan Shen, she was very happy. Meanwhile, Lan Shen hesitated. When the MC asked Lan Shen if he wanted to marry Jia Zhang, he hesitated. Huai Shi announced that the Zuo Corporation had won the bid this time. While he was announcing that he wanted to end the press conference perfectly, the big screen suddenly displayed an image of Shen wearing a wedding dress, storming into the church. She directly said she didn't want them to become husband and wife. Jin brought evidence to the press conference. She explained that the bidding documents had been privately altered by someone. Luckily, she discovered this issue early. Jin revealed her identity. The reason she came was to reveal the truth. She said that today they would get married first, and then go abroad. If Jia Zhang wanted to marry Lan Shen, she had to clarify whose child was in her belly. Jia Zhang started to panic. Jin said that 20 years ago, she had survived, but she couldn't have children for life. She brought with her a report from the hospital abroad, where Jia Zhang frequently went for checkups. Dr. Ha Hao was her main treating doctor. Everyone present was an accomplice. The Zuo family wanted to seize the Lan family, and didn't hesitate to use such schemes, while the Lan family, for the sake of honor and benefits, did not hesitate to sacrifice their children's happiness. Jin publicly asked Lan Shen if he wanted to leave with her. Lan Shen didn't hesitate. He walked towards her and voluntarily confessed his love for her. He was happy to meet her in this lifetime, and publicly proposed to her in front of everyone. Shen's evidence was complete. Huai Shi announced that Li Yuan and the Zuo Corporation were suspected of unfair competition, and decided to revoke the right to this bid and all cooperation relationships. The right to this bid was transferred to We Cosmetics. All of Li Yuan's plans were exposed. Actually, Lan Shen had known about all this beforehand, so he got the beautiful woman and his company also won the bid. Lan Ren also woke up. Lan Shen put the wedding ring on his wife, Shen This is where the story ends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to not miss out on more amazing episodes. For now, goodbye, and until next time, goodbye.